There it is as well, that lovely little item for Abed. Gets himself the headband.
Oh.
It's a good one. You know, the cast range, the ability to break the coil is always going to be good. He also has an Eon disc, which he didn't assemble yet, but in a team fight, I think you always going to have enough time to actually do it.
Okay.
Because you have almost 2,000 HP. 20 seconds until Roshan. IG, they know something is up. They need to take a fight. Like, they would want to take a fight before the Ravage is up. But not sure they can find any openings.
This is like the second or third time
Meanwhile,
I've
on
seen
the top
Alchemist
lane,
this tournament, actually.
Barrack's gone, TB
Raven
Illusions
played it
will
on
take care of
Fnatic
that.
yesterday, and it just completely demolished Neon. And then Neon literally had to ban it in the third game. So I'm not surprised to see it here. Although, holy shit, why is this Alchemist so low?
May just have to be to wait for the high ground defense. Any time out on the map,
6K does not
with
seem
multiple
right.
ways to jump them.
Hold up, who's the support on IG?
IG know it. Staying right back, Emo, and queuing up the BKB. He needs it. These fights are impossible for him to show his face in. I've got the Bloodthorn done.
JT is the offlane.
Fly, so if they can focus
offlane
down a
Alchemist
target,
is the thing.
it will have
all right.
a serious amount of damage. Will it be enough though? EG's
What do you
heroes
build on offlane Alchemist
so
anyway?
incredibly tanky right now.
I'm guessing that they originally
For a
drafted
moment,
as a
I
carry
saw
and then just had to switch it to
queuing up
offlane
Yule
just
Scepter.
because
I was like, what's
they got
going
countered
on?
by
I
Barley.
saw that. I was like, okay, is that the big brain play against the Bloodthorn?
that's
I mean,
not.
but no, he's back to
kinda
queuing
weird.
up a BKB.
IG holding the high ground. JT, so much value from the Trusty Shovel. Whenever you have Alchemist in the team, you pick up that Bounty Rune.
Oh, yeah.
Extra value
Holy
coming from
shit.
it. They know. EG is pinging it out.
Oh, they're going to initiate
IG,
the Alchemist?
they're going to try for the jump. JT.
Oh, wow.
And onto RTZ, over to the side though, the Dream Core is down.
Okay,
Chris
caught him
Seven
in the
coming with the
back.
Rolling
Nice,
Thunder.
nice.
He's getting taken out low, flying
They
with the
blocked
follow
the
round.
save,
Ollie's
and-
gone,
okay,
Target's
EG
gone
won
as well. The Rolling Thunder continues to lock down Emo's. Emo's dead out.
Oh
Again,
my
they're gonna
God,
call
Abed,
it.
Jesus
It's
Christ.
GG. As
Literally just killed the two
EG
supports
with a
and then the
fantastic start to the day here. This game one. They come in with some fun
Abed has
stuff.
always been so
the
fucking
five
good.
tide, the four pango.
Holy
and
shit.
It looks
he just
brilliant.
wins
IG,
they-
they just didn't
no
know
matter
what
what.
to do.
And like,
EG
every
managed
time I
to
watch him
survive
play
through the
in a
laning
pub,
stage without
he will literally
too many
buy every single
casualties.
ward for
And
himself.
suddenly
He
you
will
have three off
basically
laners.
make
Like,
the
you have
calls just
so
for himself.
much team fight that they
And
don't have
honestly,
the
I'm
response to the
actually
Titan
surprised
Hunter.
to
And every
see that
single
it
time
actually
I
kinda
see
works
Pangolier
in
having
a
the
lot of
free
these pro
game in
games
terms
too.
of like he
I
can't
always
be
thought
locked
that
down
Abed
during
had
the
the
Rolling
trouble
Thunder.
making the
I
transition
feel like
from
he just wins
pub
every single
to
time.
Especially
Bro, but,
when it's
you know,
someone like Crit,
I
one of
guess
the
I'm
best
wrong, dude.
Pangos in the world.
Jesus Christ, Abed just blows
it just feels like
people
you don't
up, man.
stand a chance. IG this game, just there was pretty much nothing they could do after a certain point. It was very hard to sort of see
Alchemist, though. You get a blink
how on earth they
and
would ever really be able to
Valiant?
play that game out.
Are you
EG
actually
just
supposed
fully in the
to-
comfort
What is he
zone.
supposed to accomplish in
Yeah,
that game anyway?
EG looked
They're just
very
supposed to shove
solid.
waves?
Seems like
Well,
they had a good
But Terrorblade
breakfast.
just
They
melts
were
him. He's not gonna
really
front
prepared
line
for
for
this
anyone
one.
else.
And Alchemist, once again, losing. Like, this hero has below 30% win rate.
Okay, below 30% win rate. Okay, that's I'm
That might
surprised to
be,
hear
might be a
that.
good idea to start trying something else, especially if you're playing against an EG
Team
looking
Duckster.
as well-oiled as
Who is
they
Team
are here
Duckster?
in game one. Evil
Wait,
Geniuses.
hold up. Let's actually look at Wikipedia. I have no idea what you're talking about, bro. Dota 2. Esport. Okay. Oh, Neon actually beat Fnatic. Shit. I actually did not watch this game. Okay, EG 1-0. Looks like Wikipedia's on this shit, man. Oh, man. Quincy Crew actually lost. Oh, man. Feels bad. What did I even draft here? Okay. IO Abba. I'm seeing this and there's like no lockdown. But they actually won with this lineup. And then I guess Quincy Crew let the Death Prophet through twice. The Death Prophet's so hella busted right now. She's just so freaking tanky, and she just does everything. Takes towers by herself. You can't kill her by yourself, and the more people you bring to her, the more she just like siphons you and walks away. I've seen like them running the Death Prophet as a 5 even. Holy crap. Okay, looks like they're looking some key replays here.
Because at that point, EG were already so far ahead.
I feel like
Wow,
I've seen him in that situation just always thundering fly, and I was like, when he thundered off Abe, I was like, whoa, that's the puck.
Unless he feels like, yo, you're gonna combine that Aeon disc, right? I'm gonna sunder you. Life's good.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, this
ultimately,
Alchemist
my
has
biggest issue with
nothing.
IG is that it's not so much the offlane alchemist, because we already saw that kind of be proven to be successful earlier. But it's just that he only had one scepter to give.
Yeah.
Literally every
Oh, you
other
pick him for the
was
scepter?
trash, so you couldn't even justify it on a support. He was able to give it to the Void Spirit. Great power spike.
Okay.
And then at that point, you just have an offlaner with a projectile stun.
And late game,
Oh,
I think
that's
he
actually true,
pulled
yeah.
Lever and Axe for that last
They actually
fight.
brought up a
It
good
wasn't
point. The
you
Alchemist is
have it
not
all,
gonna
you
do
already
shit.
have that save.
He's just gonna
Apparently he
blink,
didn't make
give a
the Lever
scepter,
any
and
stronger.
that's it.
And
And then he
yeah,
just-
like you say, it's just
God, Artie's
projectile
just like
stuff.
fucking laughing at all
Offlaner
this.
Who had all this, ended up just with a Blinks, didn't even have a Solar Crest, just had the
Yeah,
medallion.
exactly.
The fuck is Duckster, dude?
This was the Sunder.
The fuck is Duck? I have no idea what Team Duckster is.
God, I gotta get
Dude,
out
I
of
don't know.
here.
You guys are like high,
This is
man.
one of those
I
games
don't
where
know.
feel like
There is nothing for
that's
Duckster here.
That's him sundering Abed right there for sure.
I don't fucking know,
One of those
man.
games which I think the gold difference was very deceptive, because this was a convincing
Well, I
win
mean,
for EG, I think.
you know what they say about Alchemist games.
Sure. Yeah,
It's
you
an
gotta be ahead.
Alchemist game.
Yeah. It's an Alchemist game.
Yeah, by the way, this isn't gonna be a Dota stream. This is just like chilling before we wait for the guy's resume to come through. And then we're just gonna review his resume on stream. Right now it's just kind of like chillax, relax, and whatever.
Higher game.
Yeah, dude, like MLG Columbus was 2013. That was almost a decade ago.
In the laning phase, because I was with you. I was just like, oh, Acid Spray's not going to be that big of a deal for a Terrorblade. He's got
man.
high armor.
Oh yeah.
But then I kind of forgot that like Tidehunter doesn't really do very much in the lane.
Wow,
Yeah.
they
As a
actually had to buy a
position,
Deso on the
so
Void Spirit. All right, and then they just
Terrorblade was taking a
gave
fair amount
him
of abuse
a
early on,
Ags to boost him
but
up.
then
Okay, yeah, that was
it
nice,
like, all right,
but
time for me to go jungle, and Terrorblade
doesn't
was
look
like,
like
time for me to
Void
go
Spirit can
jungle
instantly
also,
burst anyone.
and
I mean, he could cast AoE silence, but
Void
that's
Spirit
it.
Aghanim Scepter just was not as big of a deal as you would hope for when you pick an
I used to be
And
obsessed
you
with
only
Dota
get
2,
to kinda
watched
have
him play it
to
all the time.
keep farming
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Like, I literally did that in class. So, like, all the classes that I really didn't like, and I just had to show up for, I would just sit in the front and literally just watch Sing Sing stream.
So
I don't even know why I was, like, showing up to class half the time, to be honest. I feel like a lot of people put way too much effort into studying and getting like really high grades, especially in college when it comes to programming. And the fact of the matter is that as long as you have like projects under your belt and you can code, you pretty much already have the basics of a entry-level software engineer. The rest of what they teach you in school for engineering is, how do I describe it, is basically just theory, but it's really interesting to learn for sure, because the way these things are designed, they're meant to solve a specific problem. So if you can actually understand how that all works, that's really fantastic, but it's not necessary for your day-to-day operations. Let's see, actually, while we're waiting, let's actually see what's on Hacker News. I'm actually curious to see what shows up today. Okay, uppercase and lowercase. So I recommend that you guys do this pretty frequently, where you will actually look at the latest tech news. For me, I actually use Hacker News and Android Devs on Reddit as my primary sources. Like, at the end of the day, I really like just kind of navigating through what new shit comes out and what new things I can learn. If I can learn like one thing a day, I kind of feel that's like really, really useful, and eventually that will show up like 6 months later. You know, for instance, when I was looking at, testing blogs from Airbnb, that came up because it showed up on Reddit, and then I just ended up reading all 7 blogs. And then, funny enough, now one of the projects that's going around at work is this testing, and so having read that like basically 6 months ago, I could talk about the basic ways that Airbnb did their testing and then kind of suggest that as a talking point and be able to get involved with those projects and discussion. So I highly recommend anyone who's watching here just like, spend some time to actually understand what's going on in the tech world, what new stuff is being talked about. You don't have to know all this like hardware shit. I don't even read it. Let's see. Google Play limiting Android 11 apps from seeing what's installed on devices. This one is pretty interesting. I think it's very relevant to me. Because again, Android development here. Let's see, first backdoor Shut down Cortana on iOS and Android. Ouch. Sorry, Microsoft. Yeah. Microsoft no bueno recently. Am I regularly going to start streaming? Usually I don't. I'm not really keen on streaming regularly. Most of the time, I really only want to stream when I can have a conversation with people. So it's like if you guys have something you want to share or talk about, I will bring you on and then we can just like chill and talk, you know. But really, what I want to do is be able to get this to a point where we can talk about things beyond the basics. I think there's a lot of content on YouTube that focuses on, oh, how do I get started with engineering? But there's not a lot of content on how do I further my career beyond the basics. I think anyone who puts a little bit of effort can get from a junior level to a mid-level very quickly. But then going from mid-level to senior and beyond is something that is not very talked about because, well, one, because YouTube basically forces you, well, not once, I shouldn't say forces you, it encourages you to appeal to the widest audience so you can grow your viewership. But that also means that the level at which you can talk about something is severely restricted without, taking away the nuance and details that make something special. So for instance, if I'm trying to talk about what it takes to go from a mid-level to senior engineer, then my audience base is almost essentially cut into a third because a lot of people are very happy to just like be at an L4 level, get into a like top tier tech company and call it a day and move on to something else in their life. But there's not a lot of people who are actively trying to progress their career further. So in terms of YouTube, I'm not going to get a lot of hits on those kind of content and video. And because of that, I can't turn what I'm trying to do into like a full-time thing. It'd be great if I could, and part of what I'm doing is kind of subsidizing this by having my clients come on if they feel like it. A lot, again, if you pay for like coaching, you have the option of whether to make our resume reviews, our coaching calls, our interview practices themselves private, and the ones I post on my channel come from people who are willing to do it for free or who have explicitly given me permission to make this publicly available. But in terms of viewership, they just don't get hits, and that kind of messes up the viewership of my channel. So that's why I unlist those kinds of videos. So as far as regular streaming goes, no, it's just like not worth my time to do it. Definitely if you guys have interesting questions and want to talk about interesting things, then I'm always welcome to boot up a stream whenever the occasion comes, but I can't see myself regularly streaming, to be honest. What about Microsoft? No bueno? Well, I haven't really seen Microsoft come up with anything interesting. So I have more thoughts on that, but it's 8 p.m. So let's bring on our guy here. And yeah, let's review his resume. Yo, hello?
Hello?
Hey, what's up?
Yo, how's it going?
Hey, I'm doing all right, man. So, introduce yourself to the audience. Let them know and me a little bit about yourself, where you are in the interview process. And I know you signed up for a resume review, so tell me what you're looking for in this resume review.
Yeah, so I go by Ducky, so if you were seeing all those duck comments in your live stream, they're all rooting for me, I guess.
Nice.
I currently work for a company that relocates people, so currently I'm relocated in Montana, so that's kind of where I'm stationed at. I'd say it's kind of like a general software engineering position, so I'm kind of looking to try and aim for maybe a different tech stack, something I'm not used to, just to kind of like generally build up some skills and experience.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm looking for in this resume review is just what I can do to kind of like sell myself out and try to show that I'm capable of handling software engineering positions that might be maybe a bit like outside of my skill level, but still I can be capable of handling.
I see. So you're really looking to like up level yourself, but like in order to expand your opportunities, but not so much that you just cannot handle it.
Yeah.
I see. So
I'm still kind of looking for that like level of comfort, but I still want a challenge.
okay, so are you trying to apply to companies, or what's your current employment status? You're still employed, right?
Well, I kind of put in my 2 weeks at least a week ago, so I'll be unemployed on Monday. It's mostly because I want to move back to Washington.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of like my current status, so I'm kind of actively applying, but I just want to make sure that my resume is up to par.
Gotcha. Okay, hold up. Okay, I understand, but it's really scary for when I hear like, oh, I just put in my 2 weeks, but I don't have a job lined up.
Yeah, it was definitely a risky move, but for my mentality, I think it was the best move.
Why do you say that?
Um, Mostly because I think it's just with my current company, I had this like fear in the back of my mind that I could be relocated to a place that I don't want to be relocated to, and I wouldn't have much of a say in that. So it's kind of like it's either I go back to my home state or I risk getting relocated.
Okay,
And then
so
it's making that a little bit harder to move back, essentially.
gotcha. So basically, it kind of boiled down to nothing with the what's it called, the engineering itself. It was literally just the way the company was headed and what you. It's like all logistics.
Yeah, essentially.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Because most of the people I usually have on this channel, and who I do resume reviews with, almost always tell me that it's because they feel like there is no opportunities in their current role, and they feel like they need to go somewhere else. Someone should be promoted every 2 years, and it's 2 years and I didn't get promoted, so obviously I need to switch. A lot of people have this mentality of, if I don't switch, then I am, I'm losing money. And I think in the current environment we're in, well, I would say, let me strike that. In the current climate we're in for engineering, especially on the lower end of the skill level, there is that false mentality. So that's the type of people I'm used to. And by the way, thank you for allowing to make this public, because I think a lot of people should really hear this, is that the longer you stick with something, the better you're going to get at it, as long as you're trying to do it. So, and you don't sound like the type of person who is like trying to job hop in order to try and maximize their money without having earned it.
Kinda, yeah. I guess I'm not necessarily aiming for the money. I'm just aiming for the experience.
No, and that's important, because the experience is what builds the skill. And as long as you're focusing on the skill, I think you're focusing on the right thing. Of course, where you are located to get that also plays a big factor. So I don't necessarily blame you for doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you really want to get into a big tech company, I assume.
Essentially, yeah. Or maybe even not necessarily big tech, but maybe like a little bit under big tech.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, okay. Okay, so let me run quickly through your resume, and then let's see. So
Okay.
So I'm gonna do a quick read through. Okay. Okay, so basically when I read your resume, I get the impression that this is pretty much L3 work. And the reason why is because what I'm seeing is that, well, the way you've structured your resume reads a little bit like some guy with 0 to 2. If I took out all the years that you were doing this, I would rate you at 0 to 2 years of experience because you are mostly just doing product. However, I haven't really seen anything that makes me feel like I could give you a piece of work and you could do it all on your own. And so because of that, that's why I'm feeling the L3 vibes. I feel like you might need to be handheld a little bit. So the biggest thing I see here is that you... How do I describe this? It's a little bit of the same problem the people from last night had, where you didn't make me care, but it's more so that I understand what you're trying to say here. It's like you're trying to show what exactly the project was and your role in it, and you were able to quantify that, with this like 2,000 security like data rows, or automate the assignment to foreign government employees. That's fine, but the thing is that I want to see something that can push you, something that gives me a little signal, hey, this guy might be an L4 engineer, because he has shown signs that if you give him a task, that he will deliver on it on his own without any hand-holding. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like very cut and paste that it's very clear it's L3. I want to turn that your resume into something that says, hey, this guy's very clearly L3, but you should give him a shot at the L4 level, and that's exactly what you wanted. That's what you told me in the very beginning. But I haven't seen anything on the resume just yet that says that we should give you a chance. So let's go through this step by step, and we can dissect why I got to this decision.
Okay.
So, the first thing, software engineer. At this point in your career, I would say your coursework and university does not really matter that much. In fact, this can save you a lot of real estate space, and you could replace this with another project. So, if you really want to, you can put it at the end. You know what I mean? But I would say try another project if you have one.
Okay.
Or maybe another work experience if you have it. Okay. So 2019, I think it's okay to put it there, especially since head mentor for students. I mean, that's in your recent experience. But I would say within the next year or two is when you start thinking about removing this.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Okay, so let's look at your work experience. Developed a process that converts 2,000 legacy security rows throughout the system using Visual Basic and SQL to guarantee the users can perform their work on day one of roll. This is too wordy. I need for a lot of these, I like it to be like one-liners. The reason why is because I'm going to be reading like 100 resumes a day, I need this, the first 3 or 4 bullet points need to be absolutely hard-hitting. Needs to tell me, boom, this guy has this kind of experience, and I will remember him as this, So your first 3 here should be your strongest.
Mm-hmm.
Strong, just shorthand. Yeah. So automate the assignment of 100 security roles order. So yeah, I understand why you do this, but then this kind of defeats listing this kind of defeats the point of listing your skills and interests for languages, database, and whatever. You already say that here. And in fact, you could just put you already put like SQL here. You could also add VB.net here as well. And then that takes out this part to guarantee users can perform day one. And yeah, that can start to chip away at this. And so you can eventually start turning this into a one-line. Now, tell me a little bit more about this. Why you say guarantee the users can perform their work on day one of rollout. Of what rollout?
Our project rollout. It's a year-long project, and I was assigned to upgrade the security subsystem. Mm-hmm. And essentially, if the I can't really dive much into what exactly happens, but there are these numbers each user has. Mm-hmm. And if those numbers aren't updated, then essentially the users will get locked out. They can't even log in to perform their work.
Okay, so basically you have very stringent conditions. So essentially what you're doing is migrating from an old legacy system to a new one, right? Except that the cost of failure is extremely high.
Yeah.
So instead, let's actually sell this as upgrade legacy system under strict. I would say you say government employees, so I'm going to assume it's something with the government under strict government requirements. And then I would say also put your percent fail rate or success rate. The reason why is because I'm trying to sell this experience as, hey, I'm not just like refactoring some old legacy code. We are actually upgrading a real system that has real impact and needs to absolutely succeed. And in fact, that's when you can start quantifying this. Like you say P99 of like 99.9% uptime or something like that. And then you could say like whether or not you met this or not. At that point, I can say, hey, these strict requirements, you are able to meet and beat these. So at least now I'm going to start thinking, hey, this guy can actually start thinking through what it takes to upgrade old code. And he can do it very cleanly and with, because a lot of times in the industry, we are working with a product that people don't usually give a shit if there's some downtime. For instance, if let's say your favorite mobile game like FGO went down for like 15 minutes. No one really cares. Like, oh, it's just maintenance. If YouTube or Google went down for 15 minutes, everyone loses their fucking minds. Because like the requirements for that is like almost 99.99, maybe the third 9 uptime. But you get my point here. It's like if we can say that these restrictions and requirements are uber really, really fucking high, then that makes your work look so much better.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first thing.
Yeah, definitely.
The next one is automate the assignment of over 100 security roles to 400 plus government employees without error. Okay, I mean, this is along the same vein. Cool. You had like 0 error. That's really nice, actually. But then why should I care about the automating the assignment? Put this in the bigger context. Why should I care about this?
Well, if the employees get the incorrect roles, it's essentially the same thing. Like they could get access to something they're not supposed to access, or like they might even have a role, like an incorrect role where it's just not even related to the work they're performing. So that's kind of like why the without error is pretty important there.
So let's say of 100 highly sensitive security roles. Or let's say highly sensitive government security roles. And then government employees. Yeah, the reason why is because if you can group highly sensitive government together, it's like boom, boom, boom. I'm instantly thinking, oh shit, this guy is working for some crazy high standards. But then you say security roles to government employees. Well, the government employees could be like, maybe the IRS or Child Protective Services, and at that point it's like, that doesn't sound that sexy. But you say highly sensitive government. Now I'm starting to think like CIA or FBI undercover shit,
Yeah.
Again, I'm trying to upsell you. I'm trying to upsell your experience and, make that implicit association in my head. Because again, let me put it this way. The guy is reading 1,000 resumes. I need to remember you as that one guy that does X. Now, if I can remember you as that one guy who handles really, really stringent government information or handles government systems, that's so much better than saying, hey, I upgraded legacy systems and I'm responsible for some really mild, no one cares bullshit. You see, like, if I were to read, like, let's take these first 2 lines already. Let's say, oh, I migrated a legacy system to ensure that people can use this on day 1 of rollout, and I automated the assignment of roles. Every single company has security roles. But the moment you start adding the risks to it, the moment you start adding, hey, holy shit, the price of failure is super high, then that upgrades the value of your work.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think a lot of people will say highly sensitive government. That already clicks in everyone's head. So, I'm trying to make this essentially your selling point based on what I've read. But let's continue and see if we can paint this narrative throughout your resume. So identified and updated outdated code components to ensure file processing services for specific tax returns and payment operates as expected. Okay, so outdated components. This is more or less upgrading the security system. So you say identified. What role did you have in this whole project?
So while I was mainly the, I guess, like security guy on site, I was still responsible for my team's like other work, especially if it overloaded them. So, there's also a file processing guy, and essentially there was a lot of code components he needed to upgrade. And so to split up the work, I got at least like maybe 5 or 7 of those code components to make sure all the code is upgraded so that those file processing services are still working so that we can get those tax returns and payments operating.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. So this was basically a subset of a project that you were given.
Yeah.
So this is like, again, L3 work, but I'm trying to see if I can find a way to paint this as an L4. So you were given that work. Was the problem well defined, or did you have to figure out the scope of the problem yourself?
I believe it was kind of just like, make sure these code components are upgraded. So it was kind of like I had to do a little bit of like troubleshooting myself to figure out how do I get these code components upgraded.
So then let's say you... Okay, so then you're basically talking about starting to design the plan for updating. So let's actually strike this out instead of identified. Let's say created and created and implemented the plan. Created and implemented the plan to update or refactor toward legacy components. The reason why I'm saying this is because the moment you start saying that you created the plan and you implemented it, then that means that, hey, I'm starting to think, hey, this guy I can give this guy a code component and he will figure out the plan to actually refactor and do this. You know? Whereas if you just say identified and updated, then that sounds like someone just gave you the project to do. You see where the difference is?
Yeah.
It's emphasizing your
that makes
autonomy.
sense.
So, tax returns and payments operated. I think that is already self-sufficient to the to justifying the impact and importance of the work itself. So, redesign an outdated security model to implement a new role-based model by consulting with over 20 subject matter experts. And okay, so you consulted with over 20 subject matter experts. Okay, that's talking with outside teams. Role-based model. What do you mean by role-based?
So essentially in I guess you could call it the legacy system, there were no security roles. It was kind of a bare bones model. And so I was mostly in charge for just like creating the newer security model and laying out all the security roles in front of these business users and saying like, this is what you're going to get. And making sure all the users are in their correct security roles. That's kind of like tailored to the model design. So it's kind of like multiple design sessions where I was consulting with these subject matter experts.
Okay, so basically I understand. You're consulting with outside subject matter experts in order to update your security models for these roles, essentially.
Yeah.
I don't know. I need to figure out the right way to say this, but essentially what I want to do is actually emphasize this part. The consulting with over 20 subject matter outside. And the reason why I want to say this is because when you start crossing team boundaries and start coordinating with like stakeholders and shit, that's when people start realizing that they can actually give you real work. You know what I mean? And because of that, that's like one of the requirements. And again, if you watch the stream from last night, I showed the technical requirements to become an L4 engineer. So being able to coordinate with stakeholders. So let's keep this in mind, and I want to try and sell this point here. So let's call this consulted. With over 20 outside subject matter experts and management analysis to create and implement a new security a new security role-based model. I'll let you fill that in, but you understand the point here? I'm trying instead of turning this from, oh, I redesigned the outdated security model, I turned it into, I want to focus on the fact that I consulted with multiple stakeholders, like these 20 outside subject matter experts and management analysts. You see where the emphasis starts shifting?
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
So it's like anyone can redesign and implement this. Being able to coordinate with outside stakeholders is where the big oomph comes from. So the next one, created official technical and non-technical documents reflecting the most recent changes to expand upon both developers and business current user knowledge of the security subsystem. Okay, that's way too wordy. Like, it's like, you're basically just coming with documents that you just documented the underlying system. That's really it. And the rest of this is just fluff, right? And so let's actually try expanding this. Tell me a little bit more. How many people use this? How critical was it that business users understood the security system? Give me a little bit more detail into this.
Yeah, so essentially how my lead proposed this is like at the each rollout, the business users would always kind of like ask these basic, like super like generic questions that could be like easily looked up. And he wanted to provide a centralized resource, so these documents. And so that way when the business would ask like, hey, how do I do this again? It would just be like, just look at the documentation. But because like the documentation we currently have is outdated, so I was kind of just responsible for bringing that up to speed and just making sure the business got into the hands of the business and being like, hey, these are the resources you need. If you have any questions, please always refer to these documents.
Gotcha. So basically you are talking about, what's it called? Being able to create and maintain documentation to quickly onboard people.
Yeah, that's essentially it. Because this can also be useful for developers who are just like coming onto site too. And if there's another upgrade, then, and let's say a new person takes on the security role, then they could refer to these documents.
Yeah, and that's actually a very important part of the developer cycle. So let me actually write down how you would write this. So you would say created and maintained documentation of security system to quickly onboard new developers and support business. Support business and non-technical stakeholders. So something like this. And the reason why you want to do this is because one of the parts of becoming like a L4 and beyond engineer is to start leveraging your time and your ability. So why do I say this? It's because at some point, there's only so many hours in the day that you can give, that at some point you need to just start getting other people to do it. And one of the ways you can start doing this is by creating documentation to help people really understand what they're dealing with. So for instance, if there's a new developer, you can either spend an hour with him just hand-holding him through all the code, or you can just write like 10 documents and say, hey, read these 10 documents first and then come back to me, and then spend that same hour doing other shit because you have very good knowledge of the system, so you're going to be much more productive than he is. And he's going to spend that hour reading, you're going to spend that hour producing shit for your company, and then he might end up coming back and say, hey, I just need 5 minutes of your time to clear up these expectations or answer these questions. You see how that leverage starts coming into play?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the fact that you can create and maintain documentation like this already starts feeding into it, and it starts showing signals, hey, I am responsible for not just maintaining one product, I'm maintaining an entire system. And if it's a security system, then, oh, wow, then this actually starts to become more important. So it isn't like some disposable product that no one cares about. It's a actual system that plays a very big role. And you're entrusted to create documentation in order to keep up with the system, because the moment it goes wrong, the stakes, again, the whole theme here is about the stakes that you're dealing with, and because of that, this already creates the value of your work. So I don't need to provide you necessarily. You don't need to necessarily provide numbers. Again, the whole highly sensitive government thing, that shtick, is already selling the value of it. So you're very lucky compared to like a lot of other people that you can use that to drive your narrative. But you can still, yeah. So overall, from this one job, we can already see that your narrative is, hey, I am dealing with some very high stakes shit, and I'm very careful about my work. And not to mention, I'm so careful that I'm trusted to start leading these initiatives and start crossing technical boundaries.
Yeah.
Boom, that's instantly L4 material right there. You're not just like working on some disposable system. You're working on something that needs to be very maintained and very closely monitored. So we instantly turned this from like, oh, I just created features to, hey, I am very responsible and crossing team boundaries. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Cool. So, and shout out to Thavy. Thank you for the sub. I really appreciate that. And I hope you stick around and learn a few things. So, next thing, head mentor. Cool. I personally like this when I see this from people who are newly graduated. A little bit weird for someone with 0 to 2 years of experience, but if these are like your only work experience, then I'm actually okay with it. Promoted to head mentor in 2019. Supervise 4 to 6 other student mentors. You don't actually need to say this, I think, because it's already like, it's like being the tech lead. You don't need to necessarily you don't have to say, hey, you were promoted to a technical lead at this time. I mean, you can, but I feel like it's a waste of space. I would say you supervise 4 to 6 other student mentors and then expand on this. What did you do to supervise them? Did you give them the content on what they should be teaching? Did you create like a playbook on how they should be mentoring others, how they should be helping other people during office hours? What did supervising really mean?
Yeah. It was kind of like essentially it's kind of like is my memory serving me right? Basically I would be responsible for starting the head mentor hours, getting just announcing to the classroom like, hey, mentor hours is starting up, and then I would kind of just like make sure that the balance of like help getting out, or if we're getting like overwhelmed with questions, like I need to make sure that the other mentors are like balancing their time correctly between each student, essentially.
Okay.
So kind of just like creating that like balance and making sure we're getting to everyone that needs help and seeing like common problems perhaps that arise between students, and just making sure like if we need to announce like, hey guys, like we notice a lot of you are stuck on this one problem, like here's a few tips.
Okay, got it. So you're essentially managing, not just supervising. So let's say you're managing them and that you were responsible for troubleshooting, for identifying problems and creating solutions that other students would have on their assignment. Create solutions and then also communicate with them. So I didn't really write too much, but these are the points I really want you to focus on. And the reason why is because I want to turn this from hey, I was really good at teaching other people to, hey, I was good at teaching other people and managing the teachers themselves. I was able to create that leverage. So you were able to like be able to manage and lead them and be able to create the right content to help support as many people as possible. I think at that point, your head mentor can easily become like a head tutor, head whatever, in order to support the classes. And again, I know this doesn't really matter too much, but the thing is, I'm trying to get you into that little bit of headspace where you want to start painting your narrative as, hey, I am a guy who understands things very, very technically and can easily get support from other people, even in my university days. We're trying to milk this experience for as much as possible, you know? Analyze and debug scenes code written in a variety of languages, C++, Python, Java. I'm fine with this. Explain complex computer science concepts in an easy to understand manner to 10 to 20 students weekly. Okay, fine. I'm okay with this. The rest of this, co-led a computer science success and GNU debugger workshop for students just entering the major. I don't necessarily need this. I would say, how often was this done?
Since I only mentored for about a year, usually it would be a yearly event, but I was just taking on workshops that I could lead, essentially.
So I would say change this from co-led a computer science success and GNU debugger. Just say computer science success workshop for students. That would, how do I describe this? Co-led a computer science success workshop for students that, God, on a regular basis, led and spoke at a computer science success workshop at computer science success workshops for students on a regular basis, and then I'll let you replace it with like monthly, quarterly, or whatever. At this point, we start turning it from a co-led science workshop to, hey, I am actually starting to represent the department on these events at a regular interval. You know, like I'm trusted enough to be able to start sharing my knowledge. So this is what I'm trying to turn this into. So it's, I feel like that is fair. It doesn't misrepresent the experience. And again, we're just trying to milk this for all it's worth. So
Yeah.
morale boost. Maximizing the level of activity in a Discord server by developing an open source Discord bot written in JavaScript that performs various tasks via commands. Let's say maximize engagement in a Discord server that, let's say via commands. Okay, fine. Implement a custom currency bot that recognizes and maintains MongoDB for each user. I don't know. I feel funny about this, but again, I'm not going to harp on it because these are projects that are doing whatever. Why you maintain a MongoDB server for database for each server? Why create a new instance?
Well, it's one database, not multiple MongoDB servers. I'm just essentially storing the Discord user information and the currency. That bullet point I had a lot of trouble with, so it kind of makes sense why it's kind of like striking as confusing.
So let's just say a mini economy. Implement a mini economy on the Discord server maintained by a bot that will respond to user commands.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. So at that point, yeah, that responds. Yeah. Uni office hours. Let a team of student developers to build a mobile app in Java that allows a student to search for professors to quickly obtain their office hour location on the camp. Integrated Fireblast. Don't call it Uni office hours just because it sounds weird.
I replaced the we use the acronym for our university. So I just kind of like made it uni just to hide that.
Okay, got it. Yeah, replace the name with whatever the project name is called. And then build a mobile app in Java. Again, I'm going to say an Android app. So why don't you use Android, actually? Build a Android app in Java that allows student services. Allows a student, let's say people, to search for professors to look up office information. Office info for professors. Again, we're just cutting down it so that way it is not that verbose. Again, this doesn't really matter that much, but I'm just trying to get you in the headspace of being able to make all these points salient and compact and concise. There's only so much attention that people can give. So remember, one line, try to compact as much information as you can, and just try to squeeze as much value into each word as you can. So, yeah, and the rest of this doesn't really matter that much. I think at some point your work experience and projects are going to overtake the rest of these, that you will start kicking these out. But yeah, that's it from me. Do you have any questions?
So kind of like just a question for volunteer experience. Would you much rather see another project on there, or would you say having the volunteer experience kind of makes it more unique, or?
I would say it doesn't matter at this point. It's whatever you want to express. I think the volunteer experience is fine. I would weigh projects just equally amount unless the project is something you feel super passionate about. But at this point, I already have a good idea of who you are. I don't need to read the rest. In fact, I kind of got a good idea after the first job, really. Once we started talking about these things, if I was a recruiter, I would have said, yeah, I don't need to read the rest. One, because you're talking about mentoring others in a computer science class, which at this point in your career is not as relevant. And then you have all these projects. Unless you're coming up with something that can be spun into an actual business, those projects aren't relevant either. So again, you can do what you want with it, but at this point, it's a non-factor.
Okay.
Hold up. Young Goon's got a question. You mentioned that experience being independent goes far with an interviewer with only 1 to 1.5 years of experience. Does that mean omitting every bit that has some handholding? No, I mean, in the first year or two of your experience, it is expected that you will have some handholding. What I'm trying to do here is really try and upsell the experience so that way it goes from handholding to being able to autonomously do these projects. And because of that, you can start seeing this guy in a whole new light. You can start seeing him, instead of a junior developer who needs to be helped, as someone you can give tasks to, and then he can just do it for you. So, yeah. Do you have any other questions?
Oh, no, I think that covers about everything.
All right, for sure. Yeah. If that's it, then let me know how things go. Good luck on your job search, and keep in touch.
All right, thanks.
Thanks. All right.
Bye.
So, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to drop it in the chat. We'll chill out for another like 5 minutes. And if people start leaving, then I'll just end the stream. But in the meantime, we can just hang out and talk about random stuff. Oh wait, actually, before we do that, I actually want to show you guys one thing. So, a lot of you are asking what a staff engineer might look like in terms of like their resume and LinkedIn status. And here, let me show you actually. Ty Smith. So this guy is actually very, very well known in the Android space. He gives regular talks at like DroidCon, and he's been at like Twitter. I currently work with him, and I think he is a very good example of what a staff engineer can look like. And I can dive into a little bit more of these experiences. So you see here, like he has all his talks on YouTube, DroidCon, Level Up, Ty Smith, Deep Android Integrations. This guy is super freaking smart. This guy works on developer operations and DevOps and platform. And you can see here that he has like 5 years of Uber experience. He's Android Tech Lead, Tech Lead Manager, Chair of Open Source Technical Committee, and then became a staff software engineer. This guy, you can already tell a lot about him, but even though you can't really tell what exactly he did, of course, don't take this as a resume, but see this as like what direction you could be heading in as far as your future career goes. So, before that, he was at Twitter for a few years, trying to support developers with Fabric DevOps tools and analytics. Co-founder of looks like a company. Oops. And then like back here is like these are companies that I've never heard of. 1 year. Show 2 more experiences. Yeah. So essentially he's been doing this shit since 2003. So the path to a staff engineer basically took him like almost 18 years. You know, so I know a lot of people are really obsessing about like promotions and and all that stuff. But notice like this guy, he worked his way up to it. And personally, like he's one of the smartest guys have ever heard talk and have worked with. So don't underestimate the power of just spending a lot of time and investing into what you know. Like literally look at him. He's been doing Android engineer for like 10 years. Literally just Android. So yeah, and then like he has certifications as well. I would recommend getting like one kind of certification if you can. It does bolster a lot of your credibility, especially if you don't have a lot of work experience. I think the Google Developer Expert one is very low-hanging fruit, especially for Android. If you understand what goes on underneath the hood for a lot of these Android views and a lot of the Android SDK, then I think it is very worth getting. So, endorsements, whatever. Yeah. Endorsement as a 5-star engineer. Yeah, this guy fucking deserves it. So, Hey, Edward, how many on-sites did you fail before passing the 4 out of 5 top-tier tech companies you interviewed in most recently? Okay. This one actually is a kind of a long question. And the reason why is because, I did 2 rounds of interviews. The first one is when I first got out of school. The second one is the ones I did in November 2019. So the first few rounds, I remember I got to on-sites for Yelp, Microsoft, I did phone screens for Facebook, and I pretty much got rejected by all of them at the time because I was doing them having transferred straight out of community college and not having taken the upper division computer science classes. So honestly, you can count those against me if you want, but I think at the time it was just me mistiming and not understanding what it took to get hired. So I would say overall, the number of on-sites I failed would probably be about 2 to 3. I mean, I failed a few phone screens for sure, and that can start adding up to my total. But yeah, I failed like 2 or 3 on-sites in total, and then you have the 4 out of 5 top tech companies. I only failed one of them, and I think that one was Amazon. I just never figured out why. I think they were just looking for someone different. And yeah, that was like with Lab 126. My interviewing experience with them was pretty good though. But I'll tell you what, if I ever pass Amazon, then no. My goal right now, when it comes to interviews, if I do the interview round again, is to be able to get offers from all of FANG, literally Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google. And I am missing Amazon and Netflix from that. Netflix I never applied to. So actually that'd be kind of interesting. How many people can play Fang Bingo? Yeah. But yeah, it definitely took me a while. And the second round of interviews that I did, I had a better idea of what the interview entailed, having done them myself and having given them and seen what all these candidates are like. I understood what worked and what didn't, especially for what people were showing. And you'd be very surprised once you actually start caring about your career. You'll be surprised at how many people don't. Most people just write code, and then quickly become a manager in tech and call it a day. And also a lot of these senior engineers that are floating around, they don't write code at all. They just tell other people what to write. And it's almost to the point where I've seen people literally not be able to write code on a whiteboard at all, in any capacity. And so you'd be like, and these were people that we thought were really good for Apple as well. And so keeping up with your technical skill and actually caring about what happens underneath the hood with your tech stack is a skill that will serve you very, very well in the long run, because these technologies come in and out of favor all the time, and if you just focus on churning out product for one tech stack over and over and over again, you just become obsolete, and eventually you just become irrelevant and no one will want to hire you. So the biggest piece of advice I can give for anyone watching right now is to constantly invest in yourself. And you don't necessarily have to learn every single tech stack. I think that is very, very difficult to do. No one writes in a lot of different languages very efficiently. But you should be able to do like 2 languages proficiently, 3 if you're lucky, and they should all be relevant to the current tech stack you're doing. So for me, Android is doing both Java and Kotlin. I'm okay writing in both. And then DevOps requires me to write in Python, which I'm okay with writing as well. So that was some good resume feedback. I hope you really keep doing these resume review sessions. I'll be interested in feedback when I start ramping up for a full-time job search this year. Yeah, man. For people who are interested in coming on the live stream to talk about their interview successes or their resume and stuff, just send me a message on Discord and we'll set up a time. I know I started doing these a couple times on Discord, and I honestly hoped to have done a lot of these resume and salary negotiation live streams as well. And if anyone else gets offers or anything like that, please let me know and I will interview you, and hopefully other people out here can actually learn something from that. In the meantime, I am going to put on some Dota. Let's see what happens. Twitch. Okay, Artesian the Alchemist. Alright, game over. EG1. There's no reason to watch this. Holy shit, this Alchemist is stacked. 24 minutes, Battle Fury... Okay, Battle Fury, SNY, AC. Okay, that's normal. Blink and Basher at 24 minutes as well. This guy just had a free-ass game. Holy shit.
Still gonna back away.
Okay, this Morphling is... This Morphling is... I'd be very sad. I can't blow up the Puck. In fact, Puck is a pretty good counter to Morphling. Just Blink Dagon, whatever. I can't blow up... I could probably blow up the Alchemist if I'm lucky. Maybe not the Timber. Timber's got a Hood and Greaves. Alchemist is way too stacked right now. I can't blow up anyone except maybe the Witch Doctor. Does Sumail still play? Yeah, he still plays. Oh, dude, Sumail, I think is like... I still think Sumail is the best mid player in all of NA, actually. He's not actively on any pro team, which I feel really sad about, but I still think Sumail is the best. Like, just in terms of his ability to evolve with the meta, to play mid heroes, to be absolutely relevant in any time. He has that. I don't think anyone can take that away from him. The thing is that the game has grown so much that everyone is a star, that there's only so many stars that can be active in the pro scene at any time. And I think Sumail just kind of got the short end of the stick with OG and COVID happening. Otherwise, I think he would have been a fantastic carry on OG.
This item is just so good. You don't even have to upgrade it.
From intern to tech lead, how would you compare your Dota skills? I mean, I'm sitting at like 5K right now. And that's probably like on the top, what? I want to say 3 to 3% of people. So I would say I am pretty close to a tech lead. Okay, so the thing about tech lead skill is that you can be a senior developer and a tech lead. The tech lead is more like a unofficial title that is given to people who understand the code base the most at the particular moment in time. So, for instance, if a huge refactor went on, then the tech lead title might go to a senior developer who led that refactor effort. You know, because he would be the most familiar with a lot of these, a lot of the way the code is written. So that is something to consider. The tech lead hat is just someone who's with very good technical experience. Now, as far as, you know, I think you're really talking about trying to compare it to a staff engineer, actually. And so I would say I am pretty much a high L5B on when it comes to Dota skill. But there's no way I'd be staff engineer at all for Dota. I wouldn't count interns at all within that distribution. I just started at a junior level. Because again, once you hit staff level, you're at the top 1% of your company. I think for Uber, if I'm not mistaken, I believe there's only like 30 staff engineers out of a, or something like that. I could be completely wrong, but I believe that is the number. But these guys, like these staff engineers, there's no doubt. In fact, a lot of senior engineers already operate on the staff engineer level. The usual hurdle that blocks them is usually getting other people to acknowledge it. Because, you know, everyone wants that title. Everyone wants to be staff. But you need to be able to get the support from other people who can say, hey, this guy clearly is very, very good. He is the guy we talk to when shit hits the fan. We need to break the glass. That is him. You know, and a lot of people find out that they may want the title, but they don't want the responsibility that comes with it. Because, you know, when times are good, everyone wants to say, hey, I am like a really good developer. When times are bad and shit hits the fan, who wants to step up and take responsibility to lead the effort? Very few people you'll find. And those are the people I feel like should actually be promoted at any level. Doesn't matter if you're going for staff, doesn't matter if you're going for anything else. So. Alright, so viewership is dropping. So I'm gonna close out the stream. Thanks for watching, guys. Thank you for subscribing. Thanks for all the support. And if you guys want to be interviewed on my channel for the live stream or want to talk about random shit, feel free to holler at me and I'll kick this up again. So see you later, guys. And have a good night.